Okay, we will call the Oak Island Town Council regular meeting and public hearing of October 14, 2014 to order. The council will enter into its invocation led by Councilor Loma Scott, and then we will rise and recite the Pledge of Allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you so much for this wonderful place that we live. We would like to ask that you watch over and listen to our decisions, and that we make decisions that would be pleasing to you. We ask that you bless the sick, the infirmed, and our first responders and all of our service people. We ask in your name, amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Councilor Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
First on the agenda tonight is a public hearing. Purpose of the public hearing is to receive citizens' comments on a proposal to close East Pelican Drive between Southeast 46th and Southeast 49th Streets. Mr. Foster, would you like to just give a quick overview of why we're closing this area?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to ask Steve Edwards to come up and just kind of go over how this came up and what we're doing here. Josh, one of the two of you. It's got a little bit of history to it that may be beneficial. That's fine. Either one's good.
Josh was in hiding.
I don't know. I was speaking with somebody who thought they were to be here tonight for a public hearing, and it's actually the planning board. So I missed the whole
Hey,
thing.
what they're wanting to know is the closure, about the closure of the
Sure.
right-of-way.
The right-of-way that we're doing, the ditch, what we spoke about last time. Well, what we've obtained is a meets and bounds. We've obtained a maintenance agreement, and we've got it all surveyed. You should have it in your packets. Mm-hmm. We're closing a ditch that was deeded as a road. Are there any questions? I mean, it's pretty simple. We're helping a developer out by increasing a little bit of land. They will be able to create more access for emergency access around their property. Other than that, we're really just basically taking the separate pieces of property that are where the soccer fields are and the power poles and everything, and just basically joining it with town hall and the tennis court facilities and
To
stuff.
clarify that just a bit, most of this property frontage is town property, and it's right through the middle of a big dredge ditch, and it's unusable, totally unusable for any other purpose. And so this would do away with that right-of-way in there where that dredge ditch is. Now, it will help the developer on the end, but it's a very small portion, and actually all we're doing is just relinquishing that little bit of right-of-way there at the end, so.
There's been no one that has signed up to speak at this public hearing. Is there anyone that wishes to speak, please? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Madam Mayor, I move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Councilor Payne, second by Councilor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate that. Next is council reports. Councilor Kaiser.
You take action on the
Oh, I have to take action. Well, nobody spoke. Chair will entertain a motion on public hearing number one.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
I make a motion to approve the resolution order to close the portion of East Pelican Drive between Southeast 46th and Southeast 49th Streets as presented in our packet.
And Mr. Eads, do we need to state in the meeting the corresponding deed of easement? Is that understood?
It's understood.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor.
If you're adopting the order, it's in the order.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilor Medlin. Do we have a second?
Second.
I heard Councilor Winecoff. Second by Councilor Winecoff. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. Okay, now council reports. Councilor Kaiser.
No report, Mayor Wallace.
Councilor Scott.
I have no report.
Councilor Medlin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to go over a few things with the council and those in the audience. We received an email last week from Mitzi York, who is with the Brunswick County Tourism Department, presenting some information from the 2013 Economic Impact on Tourism in North Carolina, and especially southeastern North Carolina. And there were some interesting facts in there. The number or the domestic visitors, that means people that travel on vacation to these areas, the number of domestic visitors to Brunswick County spent $470.58 million in Brunswick County in 2013. That's an increase of 5.5% over 2012. The travel and tourism industry employed more than 5,030 people in Brunswick County in 2013. And the total payroll generated by the tourism industry in Brunswick County was $85.7 million. And the state and local tax revenues from travel to Brunswick County amounted to $49.62 million. So one might ask, what is in Brunswick County that's attracting all these people and that's generating all of this revenue? Well, I will tell you the answer. It's beaches. That's why they come here. They don't come here to see the light. Well, some do come to see the lighthouse as a byproduct of being at the beach, but it's the beaches that draw people here. And I'd like to quote one of our congressional candidates that's running for election in the upcoming election. And he was asked this question: what is the number one federal issue that affects the people in our area? And he represents our area. And his answer was the absence of federal money for beach renourishment. It is crucial to our economy. And I would just like to say that I agree with that wholeheartedly. We received a letter last week from the Chamber of Commerce that was questioning our consideration on paid parking. And they said that it will come at a cost to all of us, with which I agree. It will come with a cost. Everything that happens that has good comes with a cost. All revenue, my answer would be all revenue from paid parking would go towards beach renourishment, all of it. We have got to find a way to fund beach renourishment. They also said that convenient and abundant public access to the beaches is essential to our collective well-being and our prosperity. And I also wholeheartedly agree with that. I personally believe that the Chamber would be better served in trying to help us find ways to address the crucial issue of beach renourishment rather than criticizing our efforts. I would urge them to join hands with us to try to find some ways to create additional revenues to build a healthy, vibrant beach fund. Because, folks, I'm going to tell you, if we have a major storm that tears our beaches up right now, especially with us not having the designation of an engineered beach, we're in trouble, big trouble. And I would say to you that live here, to you here, and those who will see this on Channel 8, I don't know why you live here. I know why I live here. I live here because I love living at the beach. I love having the access to the ocean. If I wanted to just live on a pretty street with lots of trees, I'd probably be living in Mecklenburg County, because it's a beautiful place. I live here because of the beach, and probably that's the reason you're here. So as we move forward, understand that we are not living in a dream world. We are consciously, diligently trying to find a way to create enough revenue to begin to prepare to renourish these beaches. We have a crisis on our hands right now on the West End, and we are working on that. We are going to solve that problem. But there are those in this town that are criticizing that and saying that we're doing wrong, that we're wasting town money. I totally disagree with that. I don't think we have any option as a town council except to move forward with the project, and I'm anxious to see it go forward, and I hope you are too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Medlin. Councilor Painter, please.
Oh, no report.
Yes, Madam Mayor, there's one thing I'd like everybody to try to do, if they can this weekend, is the Warrior Ride. Every year they come here, and I'm faithfully out there to show them my support and thank them for the job they do and the sacrifices they made. Last year, our turnout was a little slack, and that was in their opinion, and I could tell it too. If you can make it out there this year and show them your support, it means a lot to them. And it will be this Saturday, right here at the Milton Park. So come out if you can.
On my mayor's report, the first thing I had written down was there's a movement in town requesting everybody in town fly your American flags this weekend. We have 4 veteran and military events in Oak Island this weekend. As Councilor Winecoff noted, the 3rd day of the Warrior Ride. The Warrior Ride constructs bicycles that can be ridden by quadriplegics, by amputees. I cried last year. There was a veteran there who still had not had half of his face reconstructed. He literally didn't have this part of his face. That's the veterans that they support. We also have on Friday evening at the Ocean Crest Pier the Wounded Warrior Project, which is a separate organization altogether, is holding a fishing tournament for wounded veterans. I'll have to look at the Oak Island report, look at the pilot. I don't know what time it begins, but I think it's about 4 to 6 p.m. We also have an organization out of South Harbor, and I don't know the name of the organization. I'm sorry I wasn't able to find out. They take wounded veterans and Iraq and Afghanistan veterans out in their boats into the ocean for fishing trips. And they're going to be doing that this Friday evening. Also, if you drive by the airport, you will see a B-17 bomber parked at the airport. That B-17 is open. I think they've filled up on taking people for rides in the B-17. I and either the town manager and Councilor Medlin get to go on a ride in that B-17 at 11 a.m. on Friday. There's flyers downstairs. They're going to have movies on Friday night. There's several events Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with that B-17 bomber. So I can't say how proud I am of the town of Oak Island this coming weekend. It will make your heart thump. In agreement with what Councilor Medlin just discussed, I've been in several meetings with Representative Mike McIntyre. He's not running for re-election, but he has been a major proponent of the Brunswick County beaches and getting us federal dollars several times when we would not have gotten them. And every presentation he does, he presents the information showing that for every dollar spent on beach renourishment and beach maintenance, you get a return of $3. And that's through the tourism, through the property taxes. You don't want to lose that major property tax base. A large portion of our property tax base is the high dollar homes that are on the beachfront. Everybody don't forget, this is a revaluation year. The Brunswick County Tax Assessor is going through the information. Expect next year you're going to hear the usual every 4 years revenue neutral tax adjustments. So get ready for it. Pay attention to what your assessor is placing as a value on your own property. And then also we had a pre-firm meeting with the area representatives at the county complex a month ago. The National Flood Insurance Program has issued the proposed revisions to the flood maps. They will have several public hearings over the next 90 days. We hope to have a public meeting here at the Oak Island Town Hall with Caswell Beach, Bald Head, Southport, St. James, and Oak Island, so that we can have that videotaped, and we will have DVDs available, the presentation of the proposed floodplain maps. So pay attention to that. And that's my report. Okay, next is presentations, proclamations, and recognitions. I'm not going to read all of this one because it is rather long, but it is a proclamation for Dysautonomia Awareness Month. Whereas dysautonomia is a group of medical conditions that result in a malfunction of the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for essential bodily functions such as respiration, heart rate, blood pressure, digestion, temperature control, and more. Whereas dysautonomia can affect people of all ages, race, and backgrounds, including persons living in Oak Island. Whereas some forms of dysautonomia can be very disabling, and this disability can result in physical pain, social isolation, stress on the families of those impacted, and financial hardship. Whereas we seek to recognize the contributions of the professional medical community, patients and family members who are working to educate our citizenry about dysautonomia in Oak Island, North Carolina. Now therefore, I, Betty W. Wallace, Mayor of Oak Island, do hereby proclaim the month of October as Dysautonomia Awareness Month and encourage citizens to find out more about dysautonomia and what they can do to help. This 14th day of October 2014. And I get a pat on the back for pronouncing that correctly all the way through that proclamation. Next, we have Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If any of you watches NFL games, they're totally supporting breast cancer awareness. I'm wearing my pink in support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas a woman is diagnosed with a case of breast cancer every 2 minutes, making this disease the most frequently diagnosed cancer among women in the U.S. other than skin cancers. And whereas it is estimated by the end of 2014 in the state of North Carolina, approximately 7,580 new cases of invasive breast cancer would be diagnosed, and more than 1,300 women will succumb to the disease. Whereas the efforts of numerous organizations have made a major contribution to spreading breast cancer awareness to both women and men in the town of Oak Island through outreach, education, and screening and treatment programs, and have empowered people with the message of early detection. Whereas throughout the month of October, organizations and health practitioners in Oak Island are encouraged to use this opportunity to promote awareness about breast cancer and to encourage women and men to seek screenings as recommended. Whereas the town of Oak Island recognizes its responsibility to support local women and men in the fight against breast cancer. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Betty W. Wallace, Mayor of the town of Oak Island, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2014 to be Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the town of Oak Island, this the 14th day of October 2014. And Mr. Foster, I believe you have some introductions of some new employees.
Yes, ma'am. We have another presentation that we'd like to make, and I would like to ask the mayor if she would be willing to do that.
You want to do that,
Yes, ma'am.
please? Bonnie Schwerd? Would you come to the podium, please? Get through this one. Bonnie is our finance officer. I've been in the accounting profession since the mid-'80s. I've never seen anyone any better at what she does than Bonnie Schwerd. We would be nowhere near as well off as we are now with our finances, with what she had to overcome in early 2012 and all of the issues of all of the accounting and the audits and the turnover of everything. Resolution of appreciation. Finance Director Bonnie Schwerd. Whereas in January 2012, Bonnie Schwerd came on board as Finance Director for the town of Oak Island. And whereas Ms. Schwerd has been professional, accessible, responsive, diligent, hardworking, and meticulous in the performance of her duties, and whereas Ms. Schwerd has continually worked to implement new policies and procedures to increase the efficiencies of the cash collection process and improve customer service, and whereas she worked together with administrative staff, the mayor, council, and financial consultants to navigate the town through challenging financial situations, to put it mildly, whereas Ms. Schwerd was often called upon to offer insight and guidance in many areas of town governance, and whereas Ms. Schwerd is leaving the town of Oak Island to pursue other professional endeavors and will be sorely missed. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and town council for the town of Oak Island do hereby wish Ms. Schwerd the best in all her future endeavors and bid her a fond farewell. On behalf of the staff and citizens of the town, be it further resolved that this resolution be made a part of the official minutes of the town of Oak Island, and that an official copy be presented to Ms. Schwartz. And I, and a big thank you to our town clerk who was able to arrange all that without Bonnie knowing any of it was being done. Now, introduction of new employees, and we have Bonnie's interim replacement. I think we will probably come to depend on him as much as we have Bonnie. Mr. Foster.
Okay, our human resources director is going to introduce our new employees tonight.
Okay.
Hello, good evening. I have 6 new employees here, so I'm going to introduce them for you, so if they could come up. 7, okay. So this will hopefully help you put a name with a face for some
Yes.
of our new employees.
Madam Mayor,
Remember, everybody's names and their position after tonight, correct?
That's right.
Yes, correct.
Madam Mayor, for the record, these are replacement employees that rotate in for various reasons.
Right,
just for
we're
the
not
record.
adding to the staff.
Right, yes, this isn't any new FTEs or anything like that. Okay, so, let's see, oh, no, I have to get them all through the line, let's see if I can do it. Okay, so this is David Hatton, he's gonna be our new interim finance officer, and he started Monday, so October 13th was his first day.
And David is a CPA and has experience in utilities revenue billings. Vast experience. Okay.
And then I have Deborah Morrison, and she started on August 25th, and she's one of the customer service representatives, so you'll see her downstairs. Quite
I see
often.
Deborah every morning when we're walking our dog and come in to get the water for the dog.
All right, and we have Jesse Connor. He's one of our new firefighters. He started October 6th. Sorry. Yep, so we have James Williamson. He's actually was a part-time firefighter and transferred into a full-time position with the Navy.
Good.
And then we've got Lloyd Hames. He's one of our new police officers. He started July 21st. And then we have Mike York. He actually is a police officer. He's been here since January, but we haven't had a chance to get him in here yet. So he started on January 29th.
Good. Welcome to all of you. Yeah.
That's all we
Thank
have.
you.
Thank you.
All right, let me find my written copy of my agenda. Okay, next we have adjustment and approval of the agenda. We have consent agenda item number 6. I had intended to remove it to items removed from the consent agenda, but I would like to hear from the council members if they want to consider this item this evening or defer it to a future meeting. What is the pleasure of council, please?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to set a date for us to meet with Capital Improvements Committee to go over what their charge is and to give them a little bit of guideway and leadway. And I say this because I remember when I came on Capital Improvements Committee, I had some experienced people there who was able to guide me, Kelly and Carl. I mean, they had experience, they ran the show, and I would have been lost without them. Kelly and Carl's no longer there, and I feel with all the new members, they need a little bit more guidance and a little consideration from the council to be able to work through some things and get them on the track where they need to be. And I'd like to set up a meeting to meet with them.
Might I suggest the date of their next Capital Improvement Committee meeting? Maybe we could make that a joint meeting with council. That way everybody wouldn't have to look at all their calendars. Isn't their next meeting the Wednesday after the November council meeting? Is that correct?
It's the Wednesday before?
I thought the November council meeting was gonna be moved to.
It is.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to hear from the rest of council, excuse me, I'm sorry, Council Painter, would you like to consider
I
tonight or
like,
defer?
I would like to defer it, please.
What did you say?
I would like to, I agree with Jeff that we defer it.
Well, I have been saying for 2 years that committee needed its role better defined. It was very apparent that, I mean, if you look at the charge that was in the, that we have in our packet tonight, the original charge, it's very vague, and it doesn't really detail out what they're supposed to do. I think the new charge that was presented by whoever put it in there, whoever came up with it, is very thorough, it's very detailed, and it's very succinct, and I liked it. I know that I have here in front of me a copy of the transcript from their last meeting, and even one of their own members said that he felt like that their role needed to be redefined, and even the chairperson, one of the co-chairs of the committee, up until this year, who I think had that position for 2 or 3 years, stated that she felt like it needed to be better defined. So I'm good with dealing with it tonight, but however, we'll do whatever the rest of the council wants to do.
Councilor Scott?
I don't see any harm to have the meeting. I think it's a good idea.
Okay,
I'd like to have the meeting with them.
okay.
Madam Mayor, the 12th, I think it's the 12th, it's Wednesday?
Yes, so
November
the next meeting would
12th?
be the 12th, and
So
that's
they're
the
gonna
same day
meet,
as the
they
council.
meet at 3 o'clock, if y'all wanted to make it a long day and just meet at 3 o'clock and then have a regular council meeting afterward.
Is that the same day as the council meeting?
Mm-hmm.
We're moving the November town council meeting because it's election day.
Yeah.
To the next day, November the 12th. Well, it's Veterans Day. The council meeting would normally be held at 6 p.m. Perhaps we could set the amended capital improvement committee meeting at 5 p.m. that day. And then that would be we would be able to flow right into the council meeting, and we wouldn't have to come in, go out, come in, go out. What about that?
I don't care, whatever y'all want to do is fine.
Fine with you?
Is an hour gonna be enough?
Oh, there's only 2 real amendments to the charge of the capital improvement committee. It's over $30,000 and accepting enterprise funds. That's really it, other than consideration of the number of members. So I would think,
Do they have
You know-
other business, though?
pardon?
Do they have other business?
Yeah, the business.
Well, if they had other business, they could continue on with their meeting after 6 p.m.
Madam Mayor, after consulting with our attorney over here, he suggested that maybe we need to, whatever it is, make it contingent on approval by that.
If their meeting's
Committee.
already set, I think you need
At 3 p.m.?
direct them, or request of them to reschedule their meeting to 5 p.m.
So would it be simpler just to set just ask the council to have a joint meeting with them at 3 p.m. on Wednesday? And then the
That
council
would
meeting at
work,
6?
yeah.
That's the scheduled meeting, then that would take any
Yeah, it's their-
uncertainty out of it.
Already their regularly scheduled meeting, okay. Do I need a motion by council to set that council meeting as a special meeting, a combined meeting with the,
You can, I'll do a special meeting notice in any case.
okay. Jeff, would you like to make a motion that we have that meeting with the capital?
I'd like to make a motion that we have the meeting with the capital improvement on November the 12th
Yeah.
at 3
3 p.m.,
p.m.
okay? Have a second.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. So the town clerk will send out the special notice, and Madam Clerk, if you don't mind, send a copy to the Capital Improvement Committee members
I'll contact them this
that
week.
we will be there at their next meeting. Okay. Okay, I would like to add, under new business, item number 6, a resolution in support of amending our static line to, a resolution supporting efforts to revise the static vegetation line. Each of the council members has a copy of that. I also need to add to the consent agenda the resolution in favor of, in appreciation for Ms. Schwerd. I also need to add a closed session for potential litigation, and it's under NCGS 143-318.11, paragraphs 2 and 3. And I think that's all I have.
Madam Mayor, the only thing I would note is that the resolution for the static line, we already have an agenda item for directing staff to pursue a rule change. Would it be appropriate just to add it
Oh,
to that
okay, that's
agenda?
already number, okay, I thought that was an addition that was added to our desks.
We learned more information since we put this on the agenda, that something is already in the works, and we'd like to
Okay,
encourage that.
never mind, new business number 5, add what was at your places this evening to new business number 4. Anybody else have any changes? If not, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
I move to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion by Councilor Painter. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Councilor Winecoff. All those in favor? And it is unanimous. Next, we have public comments. This is for the general public to speak to their council. You have 5 minutes to speak. You can speak on anything you please. General comments and the agenda for this evening. When you come to the podium, please state your name and your address. First to sign up is Helen Cashwell.
I'm Helen Cashwell, 3407 East Yacht Drive. I was dismayed to learn of Bonnie Schwartz, our financial director, resigning this month. Losing a valuable employee such as Bonnie is always breathtaking. I realized that she had a huge job when she took over our financial reporting, and she's done a sterling job. Anyone who's ever worked in accounting and with various computer systems will recognize that changing from one environment to another can be very stressful. She's managed to accomplish that with minimal impact on the workforce. I especially want to thank her for the 2 hours that she spent last Wednesday meeting with the Capital Improvement Committee and allowing us to question her on a myriad of subjects. We, as a committee, are very concerned, and rightly so, in moving forward at our critical change in officials dealing with bonds and all the finances that are varied as ours. The entire committee felt, as did I, that we've garnered much information, financial understanding of where we are and what we will be facing in the upcoming budget process. She certainly paved the way, I believe, that will enable us to make better decisions based on the information she so willingly gave us. Her openness and willingness to address any topic we put forth was very gratifying, and she certainly speaks of both her knowledge and her amiable deportment. We all wish her the best and hope she will find gratification in her next employment, and the move was in her best interest. So thank you, Bonnie. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Cashwell. And Mr. Foster, I forgot to add a 5 to 10 minute presentation by Bonnie during our presentation. So after public comments, I will ask her to, I've asked her to give the first 5 to 10 minutes of a review of governmental fund accounting that she did last week at the Capital Improvement Committee. It was stellar, clear, concise, and the most understandable review I've ever heard. So we'll do that after public comments. Next is Vicki Sturgill.
Hi, my name is Vicki Sturgill, and I live at 115 West Island Drive. And first of all, I'm just here to say I'm a real estate broker on the island. I'm very proud to be. When I was first invited here to interview, I was just taken aback at having lived on Topsail Beach for 14 years, at the beauty and just the splendor of this place. It is awesome. I want to say that. I'd first of all like to thank the council, the mayor, town manager, for moving forward to support phase 1 of the beach nourishment program. It is the most important thing that could be happening on this island right now. I applaud the fact that you are able to work on all of the things that take to run a city or town of Oak Island this size, because you certainly are making every effort to make attention to anything that is important, whether it's a golf cart or the trash carts or whatever it is, and I really would like to applaud you for that. I've attended numerous town council meetings in my life in various towns, and I really appreciate the professionalism with which you conduct the meeting, and I'm really happy to be here. I'd like to say too, Betty, I do enjoy seeing the puppy pictures. And as a real estate broker, I would also like to commend the customer service that I receive when I call here to ask a question about a property or to say anything that happens. I will, with your permission, be reading comments from 2 of my clients in the future. Okay.
Thank you. Next is Buddy Rudd.
I'm Buddy Rudd, and I live at 415 McLamry Street. First of all, I want to thank all you town councils for all the work you do and the fact that you have a positive outlook on the renourishment. I've been in the real estate business in this town for some 25 odd years, and we do a tremendous amount of rental vacation. And the first question people ask is, how are the beaches? If we don't fix the beaches, we're going to lose the money. I would thank you very much if you say that. Also, can't speak for all the realtors in town, but I can certainly speak for a couple of the rental companies in town. And they'll do most anything they can to help y'all get to the end of the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rudd. And rest assured, we will be calling on you. Next is Barry Golub. You're going to present the comments for them.
If I may,
Please.
they ask that I do so. And I out of the point of full disclosure, I did sell them this house.
Okay.
So, and one thing I'd like to say back up, I forgot just to also just give a personal applaud to the council for having Steve Foster to manage this beach nourishment program. Randy and I attended many meetings with him as he pushed forward a beach nourishment plan for Topsail Beach, not North Topsail, but Topsail Beach. And he handled it with the utmost professionalism. He was able to convince people who didn't want to sign the eminent domain things. He knew what to do. He's a pro, he knows what he's doing, so you're in good hands. So, I'm Vicki Sturgill, and I'm speaking on behalf of Barry Golub of 6615 West Beach Drive. I apologize for not being here, as I planned on speaking in front of you today, but work got in the way. We purchased our house here on Oak Island almost exactly 1 year ago, and we were so excited after 3 years of looking in Florida, Delaware, and North Carolina that we finally found a place that felt like home. It felt like a place where we could spend more time away from the hustle and bustle of Washington, D.C. Everyone we met was delightful. People knocked on the doors to introduce themselves, and we were very friendly when we met them on the beach. All had positive things to say about the people who lived and vacationed here. We frequently walked our dogs to the point where everyone stopped us to talk about their experiences on the island. Most had been coming back here for years, some for more than 20 years. Everyone was so positive about the beach, the warm water, and most of all, the people. We were here at Christmas last time this year, and of course, when you buy a beach house, you have 8 cousins who want to come to visit. And we all walked to the beach and reveled in the magic we felt with our feet in the ocean. And then the storms came in January. They were not hurricanes, just very high tides. The beach began to erode, and the tide was encroaching on our protective dune, and the storms continued. In February, my wife and daughter were here and witnessed by the intensity of the high tides on twice daily basis. Always the positive one, I shrugged off my wife's concerns. 2 days later, my wife called me from the deck. The high tides just took our steps, and now they were swimming with the dolphins. I thought she was kidding, and sadly, she was not. And as the saying goes, it was just the tip of the iceberg. The storms and the lunar moon continue to elevate the high tide levels until we have lost more than 40 feet of dune and were forced to put sandbags out to try and stop the erosion. Of course, as everyone knows, my neighbors were also getting pummeled by the high tides, and we were all forced to install sandbags. Collectively, we have spent nearly $100,000 trying to protect our houses from falling in the water. We are not the only ones affected. Although our properties are the most severely damaged and endangered, the entire west end of the beach is in grave danger. Many have lost a significant portion of the dune protecting their homes. I understand that there were many Oak Island residents that were against the town spending money to dredge the eastern channel and place sand on a mile or so of the West Beach. I am frankly surprised by this for so many reasons. First, the dredging of the eastern channel is necessary for several reasons and is not a new project. The town has been trying to get this done for several years without success. Without the dredging, the eastern channel will soon be impassable for most boats, and safe navigation through the channel will no longer exist. Further dredging will protect the shellfish in the channel. As for West Beach, the narrow-minded that might think if you don't own a house on that part of the beach, you are not affected, you could not be more wrong economically. A battered beach that is impassable at high tide deters tourists and has a direct economic impact on everyone in the town, everyone. It affects the realtors who have fewer properties to rent, as it affects the people employed to clean, repair, fix, maintain the lawns, repair appliances of these houses, and the list goes on and on. It affects the restaurants, whether they can stay open and have enough business. It affects the stores to survive on the purchases made by tourists. Needless to say, the trickle-down effect is enormous, and it will directly affect everyone who lives here and wants the benefits of the goods and services at your fingertips. I just don't know how people can want harm to come to their neighbors. It's so surprising to me that people don't want the town to protect its citizens. Further damage to the West End houses will create huge safety concerns and expenses for the town. If the houses or any part of the houses are taken out by the ocean, the town will be covering the cost to remove the debris from the ocean, to say nothing of the safety hazards this kind of disaster would cause. In 2001, the town refurbished East Beach and is now looking at a thriving oceanfront retreat for hundreds of families and a good source of income for the town that allows its citizens to continue to receive goods and services from everyone it wants. Yet the renourishment was supposed to go all the way down to the west, but it stopped short. The West End houses did not get the beach renourishment in front of their houses, still paid their fair share of the project. So why is it not the turn for the West End to get nourishment? And considering the state of funding, $1.7 million of the $3.5 million project, how on earth can we not pass beach nourishment project for nearly 12% of island at a 50% off? You cannot get that kind of state involvement for any other project. I urge everyone to consider it's for the good of the entire island, not just for yourself or your perceptions, that if this project is not done, that it will benefit you personally. Economically, the town cannot afford to take a pass on this project, and it has nothing to do with 4 houses that have sandbags, as everyone thinks. This is a multifaceted project designed to improve Eastern Channel and improve more of the 10% of the entire island's beachfront, and improve economic outlook for the entire town. Yes, the entire town. It is time for everyone to get behind this project and actified as a unified town with one voice. To quote Benjamin Franklin in closing, and Abraham Lincoln, united we stand, divided we fall. Oak Island needs to stand united on these projects.
That's 5 minutes, thank you.
His wife is much shorter.
Okay.
If you don't mind. I'm often questioned while walking on the beach with my 2 recognizable dogs who are often seen with me on the deck. Are you the one whose house is falling in the water? I guess the answer to that question is perhaps, but hopefully not. I was at the September Town Council meeting when Ms. Cashwell spoke up and said many hurtful and inaccurate statements. I was too timid to speak up at the time, so instead I cried, and I've cried and done so many sleepless nights since then. Since purchasing our house last October, we've lost 40 feet of dune. I'm addressing to the board and the people of Oak Island, not on behalf of the 3 homeowners whose are the 4 endangered houses, but all the other homeowners on West Beach for the homes at risk. And many, many families that I meet on the beach who have stayed renters on Oak Island, many have told me their stories through multiple generations of more than 20 years. Although I was drawn to Oak Island as a wonderful escape from the real world and a chance to have some real downtime and opportunities in solitude with my family, it turns out because of my 2 recognizable dogs and our very unfortunate situation since purchasing last October, I'm often stopped while walking my dogs. Families stop and ask me, what kind are they? I've seen them on your deck. Do you know if anything's going to be done? And they proceed to tell me about their families coming here for many years. Things like 20 years ago, and now he has a child of his own. They began renting a house and continue to do so. You see, her point is that it's by no means just these 4 houses and the families that will be affected if nothing here is done. The entire West End is in dire need of a renourishment project. You can't even say that just the families in that mile-plus stretch are in need. Most of the houses are rented through the entire summer and even into the fall. Do you know how many families that is? I can't even begin to calculate. And if Ms. Cashwell wants to ask, how do you intend to make up for the shortfall of cash that will be in the project? I want to ask, can anyone calculate the shortfall of cash that will result if renters no longer rent the West Beach? I was present when my neighbor's home was rented and the renters moved to another house further down the beach. And I was also there that same week when a renter who stopped me and began discussing the situation told me that the rental agency offered to move them to a different home. And she said she just told them she felt like if they needed to leave that house, they would just pack up and leave the beach. She chose to stay, but she did tell me she really felt bad, hoping that renourishment plan would happen. Otherwise, she said, we'll just go back to the beach closer to the home we used to stay at. The revenue generated from the rentals on West Beach and the people who own property in West Beach and the businesses that all support is a shortfall of cash that should be considered when short-sighted people make those kind of comments. This project is not profitable in the scheme of things. Why the quick rush to judgment to serve such a small part of the beach? As has been previously pointed out, this is a win-win situation for everyone. All of the people who live on Oak Island own businesses, work in the town, and all of the people who live on the beach and the marsh. The money for the project is there. Please save West Beach.
Thank you. And that was on behalf of, yeah, Sherry Golub, okay. Next is Jan Isal. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
There's multiple ways of saying it. People know Senator Darrell Issa of California, so some people say Issa. The correct pronunciation is Issa, but
Issa.
My husband and I, Tommy.
If you don't mind, tell us your address.
Okay. Address is 6725 West Beach. I am just a few houses down from the people who wrote the letter that's just been read. We just bought our home at the end of April, and love this place. We're looking for property for over 4 years until we met an agent named Tracy Swanson who introduced us to Oak Island. We'd never been here. We live in Raleigh, but just fell in love with it, thought it was the most beautiful place we'd ever been, and found our home and purchased it. And I just want to say thank you so much to Steve Foster. When my husband and I came early last week to sign our easement, he pulled us into his office and we sat down and we told him that we'd talked to our lawyer, and she encouraged us to sign it and said that it's a great thing the city's doing, that the city had gone through a tremendous amount of paperwork and cost to send out the easement letters, to do all the work, to go ahead and not just do the soft sell, but do the hard sell at the same time to save time. And so, when you open that packet and you see the condemnation attached to it, it's kind of, makes your heart jump because you're not really sure what's going on. But you guys are on top of it. You're doing everything. I just want to encourage you to keep going and encourage everybody who has any way of being helpful to this project to do whatever they can, because it's the only hope of our homes not falling in the ocean. And it's our only hope of saving our economy for the whole city of Oak Island. And the argument you made last month, I watched it on TV, just all the costs and how you went to Switzerland and you saw the picture from the other, was it Topsail Beach? North Topsail in a Swiss newspaper. Just think how far-reaching the negative media coverage would be to our island, and it literally has the possibility of taking us all down, literally. And it would take many, many, many years for us to come back. And so I agree with you, Mr. Medlin, what you said, about how it's really our only hope, and we have to do whatever we can. So I applaud you for everything you're doing. If there's anything I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to call on me, because I would love to do that. And I just have a lot of optimism that with the type of city we have here, we can do this. And I just believe it's going to happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With council consensus, if I make a quick note, as we've been going through this Eastern Channel thing, it is a dredging project. We happen to have found some beach quality sand that we can use down there. Castle Beach and Bald Head Island get the rotation of the sand from the dredging of the Wilmington Harbor. It's a deep harbor, and it has to be dredged to a certain depth. They do it every 2 years. Bald Head gets 2 cycles, Caswell gets 1. Sometimes there's enough on Caswell to come down into the Yopon section of Oak Island. Bald Head Island is going through the process of getting terminal groins permitted. They're putting out sandbags on a daily basis. Holden Beach is in the process of getting a terminal join permitted, terminal groin, and the last dredging of the intercoastal waterway. Holden Beach piggybacked on that permit to get an extra 100,000 cubic yards of sand for their beach. When the Merritt goes down there and dredges the Lockwood Folly Inlet, for which we lost funding enough it was not navigable, they throw it on Holden Beach. Oak Island's stuck right there in the middle. We haven't gotten any federal benefit. We haven't gotten any benefit of this. In fact, we help pay for the dredging of the Lockwood Folly River to keep our recreational boating intact. We're stuck there. We're the redheaded stepchild. And so we just got to do it ourselves. There's no help from the feds. Bless you to DWR with the state that's agreed to at least 1.1 and possibly $1.7 million of this project for the portion of dredging the Eastern Channel and keeping our shellfish harvesting intact. And I'm sorry I broke into that. I've made a note to this at every Southeast Brunswick Mayor's meeting. Next is Malcolm Morrison. Malcolm, you're not going to get mad at me if I cut you off at 5 minutes, are you?
I've got a second presentation someone asked me to speak to after I finish. Didn't know that. I'm just kidding you. Okay.
I owe you one. You know I'm going to be at a meeting that you're at. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, Malcolm Morrison, 119 Southwest 21st Street. I want to talk to 2 agenda items. They're interrelated, believe it or not. Under new business, the consideration of purchase of an unbuildable oceanfront lot. And number 4, having to do with proposal to pursue a rule change with the CRC, that's the Coastal Resource Commission, and for management regarding the static vegetation line. They are interrelated, but let me start first with the unbuildable lot. $30,000 is way too low to even consider, and the town may even want to keep it. I know you want to increase the tax base, but you're going to get a minimal from that. So it's too low for waterfront property. It is large enough that a mobile home could be parked in there. You know, somebody drive their mobile home up there and park and have a nice beachfront access for $30K for 12 months out of the year. They could even maybe rent it out to other mobile homes to come in and use that. Okay, so that price is too cheap, and I think you need to reconsider it and probably reject it, okay? Second issue with that is it's too cheap because we don't know what's going to happen with the next proposal down here to a rule change on the static line. And if we can change the static line, perhaps change it when we get the engineered beach that we're going to in so many years, that lot may become very big. And so don't sell out early when it's got such potential. On that static line change, the public needs to know what's going to be addressed in this proposal. It was 5 minutes on the agenda for discussion of it, but it's so profound. If you look at any of the information about static line and the rules on that that's out there, it's very complex and confounding. I would ask how many on the town council here understand it, what we're being asked to agree to change. So perhaps we could invite someone down from Wilmington to come down and talk to us about static line. And on that note, let me bring to your attention on October 22nd, 23rd, there's a 2-day meeting of the CRC, which I already explained what that was earlier, in Wilmington, 22nd, 23rd. The governor will be there, and it's probably for the governor One of the agenda items in there is static vegetation line alternatives. Okay, so before we make any decision about going forward with modifying, we need to collect some information. Here's some other things, and there's other towns that have already put forth a proposal and had it approved. Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach have gotten those, so we need to learn from them what their lessons were. Okay, 2 minutes remaining, so I'll cut it off there. And one other item.
Only two places.
Pardon?
Keep on.
Okay. Beach renourishment is expensive, and we're looking for funds. We are concerned about what goes on offshore in the federal waters, wind farms, or drilling for oil and gas. Now, in the federal waters, we don't have any say, but when the stuff comes across through state waters, and it has to cross our line through pipelines, other states where they have land pipelines that are crossing are charging subsidy or tariff, whatever you want to call it. They're taking a little pound of flesh out of it, and we need to look at something like maybe $2 a barrel that we get out of for every barrel pumped through our county or anywhere on the state line out there, and get that and dedicate it all to beach renourishment. And we can find out the number of miles that are at risk and scale it so that we can get money to do a major part of renourishment every 3 or 4 years. So we need to be looking forward and going after that like a tiger. So that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Malcolm. Next is Bob Coffin.
I'm going to hold it until we have our joint meeting.
Thank you, sir. That's all that's signed up to speak. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak? Please.
Kelly Germain, 6610 Kingsland Drive. I was the one that served on the capital improvement for 9 years, and it did evolve over those years. And I just wanted to point out that when you do have your meeting to review the charge, the member responsibility was not the only document that we were given to guide us. The member responsibility was just that, member responsibility. There were, in fact, 3 different versions of the town capital improvement plan that encompassed the introduction, the definition, and the funding. So you need to be looking at that as well. That's one of the reasons why, if you look just at the membership, the member responsibility, it does seem weak because it was not the only document that guided us. So please look at those. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you don't mind, if you could include that in the agenda for the November meeting with the Capital Improvement Committee. Anyone else that wishes to speak, please?
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry.
Please, go
When
ahead.
they're finished, I do have 2 sets of comments to read into.
Okay. Come on up, Bob. And I'd like to note that Mr. Lloyd is the one that graciously invited the town manager and I, or Councilor Medlin, if he pleases, to go on the ride in the B-17.
And I would like to basically say that...
I'm sorry, give us your address, Bob.
Yes, it's Bob Lloyd, 4257 Anderson Drive.
Sorry.
And, but I would like to point out that the reserve seating has been unequaled for the Cape Fear Airport. There's now up to 90 reserve tickets have been made, and that's almost double what any other airport in the United States in the history of this airplane has ever done. So we've got a lot to be proud of there. But they do have seats available for walk-ups too. But the only other thing this is something I've been harping on quite a bit, is when it comes to beach renourishment, I don't think it should be all on the backs of the taxpayers. I think the people who come here would not mind paying, if they have a $4,000 rental contract, an extra $100 that we could tack onto that as a tax or whatever means for beach renourishment. And there's other communities that does something similar to that, and I would hope that we could at least give it seriously consideration, because it could be another great source to get us in that position where we are able to take and do an annual renourishment instead of a catch-up game. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lloyd. Anyone else that wishes to speak, please? Madam Clerk, I believe you have two that you would like to read into the record.
Yes, ma'am. This is from Kathy Lovejoy, 2207 Greenville Road in Greensboro. Dear Town of Oak Island, my family built a beach house on West Beach Drive almost 50 years ago. We rely on rental income to fund most of the expenses of the home. We and so many guests have enjoyed everything that this magical island has to offer. It is my sincere hope that we can all work together to preserve our beach. I urge you all to support the Council's plan to improve the beach and Lockwood Folly River and Channel through the dredging project. As a property owner, I am concerned about the rapid erosion that has occurred this year. This erosion is a serious threat to several homes. If these homes are lost, several things will happen. The town will lose a significant tax base, losing a source of revenue for property and accommodation taxes. Additionally, less money will be pumped into local businesses. The town of Oak Island will receive negative publicity and will be viewed as not being able or willing to protect property within its jurisdiction. People could opt to choose another beach when making vacation plans. The dredging plan that has been approved seems to be a win-win for everyone on Oak Island, property owners and citizens alike. Everyone benefits by preserving the integrity of the beach and by improving the quality and navigability of Lockwood Folly River. Please support this important initiative. And this is from Eric Thornton, 134 Northeast 32nd Street. Madam Mayor and Council, thank you for your immediate action on the handicap golf cart change. After reviewing the proposed ordinance that passed during last week's workshop, I have a few concerns and recommendations. Number one, is it necessary to put the description of the mobility impairment in the ordinance? Let's keep it simple. If you have a handicap placard and it is valid, do we really need this spelled out? Number two, in section 2-246, street cabana, to use the handicap parking, you will have to cross the street at an angle. I would like to suggest this be rewritten and have the "or crossing at an angle" phrase removed. The wording and detail is too strict. If you can safely cross without traveling 1 block, I don't see the danger in allowing crossing the main street at an angle. Not all streets go directly across. Section 12, would like to see added, if a golf cart has lights, brake lights, and turn signals, this cart could be used after dark instead of only daylight hours. Example, the Christmas tree lighting, this is done after dark, sitting on the beach at night, etc. If a cart has the above, they should be able to drive at night. I do agree that if the cart doesn't have these things, it should be only used during the day. Section 3-3, Oak Island, that the golf cart has been inspected. He suggests changing that to the golf cart complies and is in good working order and meets all requirements of this article. Section 3-4, I would like to see this be a regular size license plate with the town's choice of identification, having the month and date just like a license plate. That way the town would only have to issue a new next year sticker instead of coming up with a new sticker every year. Having the fee at $25 to cover all costs and the extra money going to beach replenishment programs. Section 4, violation, would like it to be changed to Caswell's wording, using all violation money for beach replenishment. Violation of the chapter shall be a misdemeanor and punished with a fine of $50 for each violation. I would like to see this be for all golf carts and not just handicap in the near future. Thank you again for your immediate action on this.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And there's no one else that wishes to speak? Okay, next, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, but with council's consideration, we have an item on the consent agenda to name the Oak Island Skate Park after Kevin Bell. Kevin passed away recently. I would like to read what is in the agenda packet for this. We will have signage there, and in just a little while, a month or so, we will have an official ribbon cutting for the new skate park. I'd just like to read this summary. Throughout the life of Mr. Kevin Bell, he served the citizens of Long Beach, Yopon, and the town of Oak Island. He is credited with coming up with the name Oak Island and led the consolidation of Yopon and Long Beach. He served on the town council for 12 years, 2 of them as mayor pro tem. Mr. Bell was the catalyst behind the fundraising creation of the Oak Island Skate Park, which has served thousands of youth and adults over the past 13 years. Numerous citizens and the Recreation Advisory Board have expressed a desire to rename the skate park to the Kevin Bell Skate Park to honor Mr. Bell's lifelong service and dedication. That is part of our consent agenda this evening, and we will have an official resolution when we have the ribbon cutting at the skate park later. So with that, Chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, please.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Have a motion by Councilor Painter,
Second.
second by Councilor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. We have a few minutes. Next, we go into committee appointments. On the Community Center Advisory Board, we have 2 terms ending in October 2017. We have an application by Ms. Eileen Klitsch. I think I pronounced that correctly. All those in favor of appointing Ms. Klitsch, please. And it is unanimous. For the Environmental Advisory Board, we have 1 term ending June of 2015. We have an application by Virginia Stevenson. All those in favor of naming Ms. Stevenson, please. And it is unanimous. On the Par 3 Golf Course Ad Hoc Committee, we have 1 term for a non-South Harbor resident. We have an application by John Bach. All those in favor of appointing Mr. Bach, please. And it is unanimous. Next, we have the Beach Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board. We have 1 term ending September 2017 and an application by Deborah Olis. All those in favor of naming Ms. Olis, please. Thank you. And the last names of these committee applications was worse than that dysautonomia pronunciation. Next, we have committee reports. We have one already noted. Mr. Simmons wants to give a report from the Emergency Services Advisory Board, please. And Bonnie, this is where I've decided to let you do your review. It just fit.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Manager, Lisa. A couple of items that I wanted to mention that the Emergency Services Board has been working on in the last 3 months. One of them is an interaction with the Coast Guard station here at Oak Island to do some joint training with them and our emergency services, probably more with the Water Rescue Organization and possibly with the fire and EMS portion of emergency services and law enforcement for that matter on occasion. To get this rolling, October 29th, which is a Wednesday, there'll be an in-water exercise that the Coast Guard is going to do annually to test some of their endurance in the event of falling out of a boat, I suppose. We're going to have some of our folks involved with that. About 7 members are going to be with these guys. It's going to be something interesting to watch. They'll start with a classroom session at the Coast Guard station about 8 o'clock. Then they'll deploy a couple of their 25-foot boats to the area of the Oak Island Pier. And about 200 yards offshore, these fellows will get in the water, make their way to the beach, and then make their way back out onto the boat. It's a pretty impressive sight to see all these guys in the water coming through the surf. And I'm sure they wouldn't mind a little audience. So that's October 29th, Wednesday morning. They'll probably hit the water around 10 a.m. And that is the vicinity of Oak Island Pier. So hope to have more interaction with the Coast Guard station, with our emergency services departments. The more we train together, the better we are in emergencies when we are called to react. A second project we're working on, 10 years ago or so, there was an ordinance added to the street numbering section that required house numbers on the ocean side of the oceanfront beach houses. That was a safety issue to be able to locate folks when a 911 call came in. Inevitably, somebody would call 911 and say, my stepdad just fainted. Well, where are you? I said, I'm between 2 piers. Well, at that time, we had 3 piers. It was really hard to pinpoint where they were. Or I see a water tower. So we came up with that ordinance, and it kind of got shuffled back. But we're trying to resurrect that ordinance now. It takes a lot of manpower to enforce an ordinance like that to check it, to look for noncompliance. So we've worked out a deal to use emergency services volunteer personnel to do the legwork of creating a list of noncompliance, and there's a lot of them. Well, also, I thought it would be a good idea to involve the rental agencies, since 90% of the oceanfront homes are represented by one of the rental agencies. So our plan is, and I've discussed this with Development Services and the manager, that we'll compile a list of noncompliance, and we'll let the agencies, the management agencies, take their properties off of that list and work with their owners one-on-one to come into compliance. And hopefully that will take care of the lion's share. What's left over of noncompliance then will be turned over to Development Services, and they'll get the rest of it. Hopefully we'll whittle it down to be a manageable chore for that department by that point. So we hope to have that done by hopefully at the end of March, in time for the next inrush in Easter. We're also looking into the storm ready recognition the state has, North Carolina Department of Emergency Management. We're going to make application for that over the winter, and it's beneficial to our town in the event of an application for grants and such in emergency services. If we obtain that recognition, then it is a check in our column for grant application. So we'll work on that over the winter too. And then we're back into season again come April. So that's what I have to report so far. Any questions?
May I ask council consensus that our Emergency Services Committee work with the Holden Beach Water Rescue Group with Oak Island Water Rescue Station 44 and Brunswick County Dispatch. Excuse me. We had a boat capsized in the Lockwood Folly Inlet a couple of weeks ago. The guy that called in was on a cell phone on the Holden Beach side. The boat capsized on the Oak Island side. Dispatch, I was standing behind the lady when I got my license renewed, and we had to stand there for an hour to get into the building. She gave me a review of what happened. They didn't know whether to dispatch Holden Beach Water Rescue or Oak Island Water Rescue or just our fire department, because they couldn't figure out exactly where the boat was at. And they finally just sent everybody. So
that was a pretty unique day. The first call came in of a boat that washed up on Oak Island Beach. That was a different incident. Well, that triggered the Coast Guard being called, and they were en route in the 25-footer over halfway to Lockwood Folly when the second incident happened, and that was the actual capsizing of a fishing boat with 5 people on board. In the confusion, 911 in Bolivia, the dispatch center, they get their information from where the call originates. So if somebody's standing on Holden Beach, sees something happen on Oak Island, and they dial their phone, 911 thinks it's coming from Holden Beach, and that's the station being dispatched. Anyway, it worked out fine. The subjects were brought to Oak Island and taken care of there. We're working on right now to try to get simultaneous dispatch for anything in Lockwood Folly to Station 8 in Holden Beach and 44 on Oak Island. Their county's kind of looking at that, saying their CAD system's not capable of that, but I'm sure somebody with the technology know-how they have there can figure that out. Second tier of that would be the stations would handle it themselves. If one is paid, they'd automatically call for mutual aid to the other. So we talked about the other day will happen one way or the other.
Okay.
Anything else?
I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you for the review. Is there any other committee members? Is Mr. Cox here? Did he? Yes. Pardon? The Golf Course Committee report, please. Bonnie, I'm keeping you here on purpose because I know.
John Falk, 164 Northwest 2nd Street. Madam Mayor, council members. A couple items we want to bring up with the golf course is recently the Golf Course Committee has proposed new rates for incentives for past membership, current membership to council for approval. There's some good incentives here, I believe. We're going to get in some more people to play, past members, hopefully some more new current members. Of course, with that revenue, that money can go towards the town and to upgrading the golf course. Course condition, I'm going to bring that up. We've had the course closed for, will be our second to third day. And let everyone know the greens have been top dressed and the tee boxes is really coming back to the condition it should be. Our staff at that golf course, for two gentlemen out there, I can't say enough about them. They just do an outstanding job with two people. We have some volunteers that also help, but that's limited to the amount they can do. But again, they just have given an outstanding job to this town. Number 3, and I'm gonna recommend this to the committee, that we try to maybe expand our participation in the First Tee program. For you people that do not understand what First Tee is about, it's a golf teaching program for children 8 to 18 years old, from 5 to 18 years old. It teaches them golf, of course, but it gives them a lot of life skills. And that's what it's more about. And these skills are leadership, integrity, honesty, fellowship, trustworthiness, and these are really good for our kids in life. And I did a little bit further research and why I'd like to expand the program if we could. Checking on this program really will help solve a solution to challenges our youth are facing today. And when this part of it is a part that had me really concerned, is the alarming rate that 1/5 of our students are dropping from school before they finish high school. And we can do anything to help these kids. Some of these kids come from troubled homes. If we can do anything as far as volunteers to help with this program, I think it's well worth it for us as the town. I'd also like to bring up our current tournaments we have. We're going to have a night glow tournament, which comes about to, October 17th, this Friday. We'll have refreshments at 7. Tee-off time will be at 7:30 p.m. We also, again, with cancer cure, breast cancer, we have a rally for cure, which is November 7th at the golf course. The time, let's see, it's starting at noon. Tee-off time is at noon time. Love to see a lot of people out there, whether you participate or not. Give support. These women are going to be out there playing. We would greatly appreciate that. And also, we'd like to bring up, and people keep in mind on this, we're discussing starting a Tuesday night spring golf league. And we're going to start talking about that now instead of later on in the season. But I'd love to have a league started here with town employees and volunteers of the town. It'd be a great 9-hole golf league at night. So if anyone is interested in there, they could please call me on my number, email me, or Rebecca Squires at Parks and Recs, who, again, I want to announce also, who does an outstanding job for the golf course. We're really proud of what she does for this town. And she's really filled in a lot. So that's all I have to report. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And let us know about that First Tee program, what we can do. Bonnie. As Ms. Cashwell noted, Bonnie gave a review at the Capital Improvement Committee meeting last week of several items on governmental accounting, but the first part of it, she explained the differences between the different funds of a government, between governmental and enterprise, and it was the clearest review I'd ever heard. I asked her to do it again, the first 10 minutes of what you did last week. Could you do that and present it to us, please?
Certainly going to give it an attempt, and bear with me because I didn't make specific notes of what I said in the first 10 minutes. So I'm going to try to give it a go here. The governmental funds, the things that we talked about in the capital improvement meeting were, what are our funds? What do they consist of? How do we arrange them on the financial statements versus the activities that we do? What's the basis for the funds that we have? And one of the documents that I referred to and asked that the Capital Improvement Committee consider looking at is the MD&A, as we refer to it, or the Management Discussion and Analysis. And that is the front document in the audits that we prepare. And it gives information about it's a short version of the audited documents for the town. And basically, the way that's divided is that the town has governmental funds, and that's how we account for our basic services. We use the modified accrual method of accounting there, which basically means we have a financial focus in the governmental funds. Again, that's our basic services. That includes things like Parks and Rec, administration, police, fire, all basic functions of town government. Now, everything that's expended within those funds has to be budgeted by the town council. The budget has to be approved by July 1st, and nothing can be expended that's not budgeted within those funds. It basically tells us what services we're going to provide as a town and how we're going to go about paying for them. Within the governmental funds also are restricted governmental funds, such as our accommodations taxes. And there's been a lot of confusion about accommodations taxes, so I spoke a little bit about that in the meeting. And in that, the town has local legislation that was passed by North Carolina's General Assembly that gives us the right to collect an accommodations tax. And it actually is broken down into two sections that gives us an A version and a B version based on that local legislation. And the A version is for tourist-related activities, and the B version in that tax is for beach management and renourishment. The tourist-related activities is a 3% tax on the accommodation of rentals, their sales rates, and the secondary tax is a 2% tax. And the amount, that 3% and that 2%, is based on the local legislation. It's not something that changes. It is an accommodations tax and a beach nourishment tax. And so we commonly refer to those as the A or the B tax. And that's why there's two different funds, the accommodations and the beach tax fund, because we split those out to show those specific purposes. The things that are in the accommodations tax can be used for beach nourishment, but the things that are in the B, the beach nourishment part, can't be used for everything else tourist related. So that's just a little note, but those are considered part of our governmental funds. Additionally, we have proprietary funds. And the proprietary funds are our business type activities. These are our enterprise funds, our water, our wastewater, our stormwater and our golf course are also considered enterprise funds. And those are the things that the town operates on a fee basis that are a business-like activity. The town has, excuse me, in those business type activities, looked at them in the manner of full accrual accounting, which is different than modified accrual. The modified accrual in the governmental funds helps us look at the financial picture, while the full accrual helps us look at the overall economic picture, not just the current term's finances. And so it's not apples to apples because it's not reported that way, and GASB doesn't have us record it that way. And both the full accrual and the modified accrual versions are different from the budgetary manner. So a lot of times people think about it, you know, this is the cash in my checking account, so it should bounce. I get money in, I get money out, and at the end of the day, this is what I have left. In governmental accounting, it doesn't exactly work that way. And the reason it doesn't work that way is based on the way we record our revenues or the way we record our expenditures. And the accrual means if I know something's coming, I may record it at some given point. The time in which I record it is different in those different types of methods of accounting. So we began talking a little bit as well about fiduciary funds. We talked about the fact that the town holds a fiduciary fund and that it's funds held for other governments, that we have citations that we write, that our police officers write that are for state penalties, and we end up having to remit those to the school system. Each year we have to move those funds into that fiduciary fund, and we remit those without having to have those budgeted through council. It's automatically considered the other entity's money, and so by law we're required to remit it, and that doesn't fall through the normal budgetary process of council. Excuse me, one piece that I had touched on in the meeting before was that the enterprise or proprietary funds, the water and the wastewater system, while they're both considered major funds and they're reported separately in our financial statements, the system together makes up our bonded system. So our enterprise system, when we refer to that for the purposes of our revenue bonds, is our water fund, our wastewater fund, and our sewer district fee fund. And so when you look on the financial statements and we see the performance of the enterprise system, that's what it's referring to. So you may see, wow, it looks like the water fund is doing really good. It looks like the wastewater fund needs more money. But when you net it all together, that's the picture that we provide for the purposes of our bonds because it's considered one system altogether. And then last I talked a little bit about the fund balance and what fund balance is in a governmental unit. And we have revenues that we record for the money that we take in. We have expenditures that we record for the things that we pay. And over the course of the year, the difference between the revenue that we take in and the expenditures that we pay out is our net position. Most people look at that in a general business enterprise as profit or loss, but in a government, the picture's a little different because the goal obviously is not for profit, but instead to provide the services that the town needs. The difference in our net position, if it's a positive net position, means more money is going to go into fund balance or the funds that are available for future purposes. If we have a negative change in net position at that point, then that would mean money would be taken away from the fund balance for future expenditures. And part of what we talked about was the transition for where the town has come and its position for fund balance. In fiscal year 2013, the town had a fund balance available for expenditures that equaled 23% of its budgeted expenditures for the year. So the amounts that we plan to expend, the general governmental budget is about, at that time, it's about $10 million per year, and so 23%, quick math, I'm going to round these numbers, obviously you can look in the audit for the exact, would be about 2.3 million. But the town's fiscal policy had a goal of at least 25% available fund balance. In the changes that were made with that the town council has enacted and the changes that were then put into place, we were able to increase the available fund balance. In the fiscal year 13 end of year, I'm sorry, that I referred to fiscal year, I'm sorry, that's right, fiscal year 13. Fiscal year 14 was 41.4%. I apologize, I'm getting stirred up on my notes. We increased it significantly during that time, and the preliminary numbers for fiscal year 15 are showing that it'll be an increase to fund balance again in this year. So the changes that have been made with revenues and expenditures have allowed our funds to be a very healthy general fund. And I think that's something a lot of times people don't understand because they hear the wastewater fund and the problems that we have in that side, and they don't understand the general fund is quite healthy. The general governmental activities are doing fine. The enterprise system is the place where we have extended amounts of debt. And it's kind of like thinking of two buckets because they really don't meet in the middle. While the same pockets have to pay for both of those buckets, the townspeople, in the budget process, we don't take money from the general fund to then fix the costs or the expenditures in the enterprise fund. There are times when you can, there are times when you can't. Most of the situation that we faced are times when we really can't. So that was kind of the description I gave, basically explaining the difference between a governmental and a proprietary or enterprise fund is the business type activities versus the general activities of the town, and they're the two separate functions for what we do in those. And hopefully I covered all that you wanted me to come back to.
That's what I wanted to get, the difference between the funds, where the money comes from, what happens to it. And we do expect, I know everybody, this year, this fiscal year, we've had 11.75% increase on our utility fees, and we will have probably an equal amount next year. Does it look like we are going to meet our bond covenants for fiscal 2015 as we stand right now?
We have been performing. For 14, we definitely have met our covenants. For 15, we're performing where we would anticipate we would be performing. And the situation with that is we'll need to continue to monitor it, and we have been looking at where we are compared to the FFE or our financial feasibility evaluation and determine whether we continue to perform in line with that. But we are performing with that scale up. We are performing in line with what we anticipated we would need to be doing in order to meet the revenue projections that we needed to meet to make those covenants continue.
Madam Mayor, I would like to say David is somewhat of I hate to use the word expert, he's sort of somewhat of an expert in some of these utility issues. He worked with a lot of utilities in the past in West Virginia, and I think he's going to be a valuable asset to us. And I don't want to embarrass you, David, but I think he's going to be a valuable asset to us.
Oh, I told him before the meeting, Bonnie already had everything straightened up, so all he had to do. And everybody, Bonnie is leaving us to go to a position with how many funds?
Lesser funds, but the key for me is that it's 30 miles closer to my home.
Yeah, her round trip every day to work is 3 hours.
Yes, ma'am.
3 hours round trip every day. So she's closer to home. She's, 30 miles closer. Yep. Their gain is our loss, but we're gaining you too. Okay, we've been in session for an hour and a half. Let's take a quick break before we go into old business. Does everybody need to push their buttons?
Push the button, the mayor's right.
Did you push your button?
Tricky.
Okay, can everybody hear us on the microphones now? Okay. Before we go into the old business portion, I'm with council's patience here for just a moment. I forgot to note that a week from Saturday on October the 25th, the local Civitans Club is having their local heroes chili cook-off at the Moose Lodge from 12 p.m. until 4 p.m. That's where all the fire departments, the sheriff's department, and they have some of the most delicious chilies there, and you get to vote for which one is your favorite. They have live music, they have raffle prizes and door prizes and silent auction items, and they have a bake sale also. That's the 25th from noon until 4. Okay, administrative reports. Mr. Foster, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a few things to be quick. One thing I'd like to mention at the top of my list was this last couple of weeks, actually it was on September the 25th, we had two employees that did something that I felt like deserved some mention tonight, as did John Michaud. I'll read this, what John sent to me, but it says, while passing a local restaurant on Oak Island Drive last Thursday, September the 25th, two of our town operation department employees noticed a boom truck with a worker up in the basket was on fire. It turned out to be an engine fire. Our employees, Gary Gretsch and Bobby Hewitt, stopped to provide assistance. While Gary was extinguishing the fire, Bobby assisted the worker to get out of the elevated basket. With the exception of a damaged truck, all ended well with no injuries, and I just want to thank Gary and Bobby for doing that. I think that was an exceptional.
That deserves a round of applause. Yeah.
Golf course reuse project, we're holding a pre-bid conference on that at the Public Works Building. That'll be on October the 26th. We're hoping to have a bid opening on that project on October the 29th at 1 o'clock. So say your prayers and hope we get low bids on it. Hope that'll happen. Hopefully we'll be awarding a contract at the November meeting. The project's on schedule and we're hoping to get it finished early 2015. And that'll take care of our obligations, hopefully, in that regard. Handicap golf carts. I would like to say that if anybody has any questions about the new regulations on these carts, contact Greg Jordan, Oak Island Police Department, and his telephone number is 910-201-8032, and he'll talk about requirements for those golf carts. We have, as far as the Eastern Channel Project staff, Kathleen Snyder, I'd like to give her a special pat on the back. We've sent out, 99 easements, I think it's about 99 of them, along with condemnation notices and all the other paperwork. And we got those out and they're starting to come back in, and I feel pretty good that we're going to be able to continue with that. DOT bridge report. Currently on the Barbie Bridge, the old bridge, they're replacing 56 tension cables. That's the cables that go through the bridge that hold the stanchions together or the deck together. And they're severely deteriorated, they found, and they're having to replace all these. So they're going to be doing this from 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. every night for about the next 6 weeks. I'd like to thank Chris Anselmo for making arrangements with the other fire departments of Southport and St. James for any emergencies that may come up. This will be only one lane closed, but there is some weight limits on there I won't get into. So we would like to encourage, if anybody's using a bridge at this time, to use the Swains Cut Bridge if all possible. A little bit about the Wounded Warrior Fishing event. That'll be on Friday, October 17th, and they'll be hosting a pier fishing festival at Ocean Crest Pier from 7:30 to 3:30. So I want to thank the fire department for taking the lead on this, as well as the Recreation Department and Public Works. I've gotten some kind of heart-rendering emails from some of these folks about going out there and fishing. And I think they seem to be very excited about it, and I think it's something that's probably going to make them feel a lot better. So it's not a fundraiser, but an opportunity for those that would like to enjoy the experience. So I just want to thank all the employees that helped, work on that. Very much appreciated. And I believe that's it.
Have any questions for the manager?
I'd like to add something about the pier fishing event. That's being put on by a group called Operation North State. And what's unique about them is they do this for only North Carolina Wounded Warriors. It's not everybody across the country. It's specifically for those, for North Carolina.
And we have a lot of sponsors that help sponsor the event as well, too. And I'm going to ask Lisa if she could post that on the website so that everybody will get credit that helped donate.
And our Recreation Department and some of our town employees volunteer also with the Warrior Ride, so they will be there Saturday morning with that organization. We are proud that the organizers, the originators of the Warrior Ride, it's here in Oak Island. This ride will be in memory of Deborah Racine. Bob and Deborah Racine are they formed the Warrior Ride several years ago. Deborah passed away on August 31st, so this ride will be in her memory. They have continued on with their rides that were scheduled. So as Councilor Winecoff said, we've got the Wounded Warriors Friday night at the pier. We've got the Warrior Ride Saturday morning at the soccer fields. Great opportunity this weekend to show our support.
I do have one more thing. I've asked Mr. Anselmo, Chief Anselmo, to come up and talk a little bit about the paramedic service, the Oak Island Fire Department paramedic service.
Yes, I wanted to give just a brief update on the progress of that. As everybody knows, January 1st is the date that we are shooting for us to begin functioning at the paramedic level. And I hope that still happens, but I just wanted to put it out there. The Brunswick County EMS has informed me a few weeks ago that the final step, which is approval by the commissioners, the Brunswick County commissioners, is on their consent agenda for this month, October. They said it's a formality, really. They don't see any reason why it would come off that consent agenda and that we should be good to go. But with that being said, we went forward and started the process of our DHHS license. And we also have to go through a DEA process for the narcotics that we would have to keep at that level of service. That process might take a little bit longer than we anticipate because it's kind of a domino effect. We have to do 2 sets of paperwork, and we have to involve the medical director, Dr. Sherrod, as well as Brunswick County EMS to get signed off on applications and so on and so forth. And we cannot pursue the DEA, which is going to be the same process. We have to actually attain the DHHS side of it, Department of Health and Human Services, and get a state license before we can apply for a federal. So that process might take us a little bit into January, but Brunswick County has assured me that the day we get, and we can't order those narcotics until we have all of that in place. So, but they've assured me that whatever the process takes, if we go past January 1st, into the middle of January or perhaps the beginning of February, that the day we receive our medications in, they will flip that switch that midnight and we will go the very next day. So it may not be the first, but it will be soon after, and hopefully it still will be the first, but I just wanted to make everybody prepared in case it gets a little delayed. Other than that, we've been moving forward with the process and everything else we can possibly do. That would be the only holdup. So, and that's where we stand on that right now.
Thank you.
And I assume you would let all of us know immediately if they need any assistance on any of these applications and forms and voices of support.
I'm sorry?
Then I assume you would let us know immediately if you need any assistance from any of us, voices of support to the powers that be. Okay.
Well, and I've talked to Dr. Sherrod, and Philip Britt is the one at Brunswick County that handles that kind of stuff, and you know, and they've assured me they'll do whatever they can to expedite it as fast as they can. So we should be in good hands.
Okay, thank you.
That's all.
Okay, Mr. Eads.
Yes, Madam Mayor, since our last council meeting, I have received a request for advice by, I believe it was a planning board member, as to what extent the planning board members can communicate amongst themselves and to this council outside of a public meeting. And some pretty good questions were raised, and I would like the council's directive. I spoke with Lisa Stites, and what I would like to do, Madam Mayor, is to put together kind of a memo or a policy for all of these board members, and the council could use it as well. And I would present that at the November board meeting for your consideration and approval, but I would like the direction from the council to work with Lisa Stites and Mr. Foster and come up with that for the November meeting.
Direction from council approved. Councilor Kaiser, Scott, Medlin, yes. Unanimous.
If we have a closed session, and other than that, I don't have any other report. Thank you.
Thank you. We have no old business. Good, we're taking care of things. First item under new business is approval of changing the date for the regular meeting in November, and that is because of Veterans Day, am I correct? Okay, I thought it was, and it will be changed from the 11th, because the town facilities will be closed. The meeting will be moved to Wednesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. Motion by council, please, to do that.
Madam Mayor, I move to change the November meeting date to Wednesday, November 12th at 6 p.m.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. Next item, approval of a resolution opposing the proposed increase for homeowners insurance. This is like one of those no-brainer things. Mr. Foster, would you kind of give us an overview of what they're proposing and why we're...
This is an effort to, as far as wind and hail coverage, maybe homeowners might be a little bit of misnomer, but the rating, or the commissioner and the rating commission is looking at changing the rates up. I believe it's as high as another 30, 33, 35%. And we've already been through this once, and now they're back wanting more of an increase. And everybody's being encouraged, the boards on the coast, to pass a resolution in opposition to these rate increases, and that's what this is on here for.
Madam Mayor,
Please.
may I make a comment? I saved my council comment for this particular time since this item was on the agenda. There will be a public hearing in Raleigh on next Monday, October 20th. It happens to be at 9 a.m., which makes it difficult for us to travel from here, but if we have people who are so inclined, it would be great. Anybody that you know who owns property here that may live in Raleigh or near there, if there's not an opportunity for public comments at the public hearing, but a show of just a good showing from the coastal community would make an impression. And so I would encourage anyone who could attend to please do. And it is, like I said, it's at 9 o'clock. It's in Raleigh at the Dobbs Building, which is on North Salisbury Street.
Thank you.
Can I say something real quick, Madam Mayor? I actually got lucky and went to a town hall meeting with the insurance commissioner. It was up in Wilmington a couple weeks ago, because I wanted to hear what he had to say of why the coast was getting the brunt of all these increases. And what he had to say was pretty interesting on a lot of it, and he was saying the majority of it, he has to follow the law, and that's what the law is in there telling him to do. And he's also told me that there's been a bill on the floor in North Carolina on the House and Senate that's sitting on the floor, and they have not took it up, that will allow him to be able to use scales and models to be able to determine what rates would be throughout the state. I have called his office because I'd like to have that bill number, because if it's sitting there and it benefits the coastal areas of North Carolina, then I think we need to pursue that and get them to pass this bill, where we get a little bit of relief and everybody shares the same burden instead of us all the time.
When you get that bill, would you mind emailing that information out to the
I will.
manager, and we can get it out to the public at large?
I will.
Okay?
Just a note, interesting note, on page 38, under 52A, eastern coastal areas of Brunswick, Carteret, New Hanover, Onslow, and Pender counties. It lists all the zip codes in there but ours. Does that mean we're excluded?
Might have been an omission.
It's got Southport.
I believe it's an omission because I think I've seen where we were in there.
Well, under territory number 8, it also says beach areas in Brunswick, Carteret, New Hanover, and Pender counties. So I was wondering why those two things were listed separately, so.
That 52B is getting a decrease by 2.7%. Those that are listed zip codes.
It's the western coastal areas.
Well, you know, it's just one number off, and we've had trouble with numbers
Yeah.
through the years there.
Our zip code's not listed there.
No, it's not listed there either.
That's just an interesting, it's probably just an
And it's interesting to me that, you know, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and Union counties, they got like 16 and 23% proposed. Western coastal areas of Brunswick, I don't know what that entails. We'd have to look up these zip codes. A negative 2.7%. They would have a decrease in the western coastal areas of Brunswick County. Average person can't understand this stuff.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to adopt the resolution opposing any homeowner's insurance rate increase and to direct staff to forward it to the North Carolina Department of Insurance.
We have a motion by Councilor Medlin, second by Councilor Kaiser. Any further discussion from the council? If not, all those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. Next is consideration of offer to purchase an unbuildable oceanfront lot. Mr. Foster.
Okay, where's, let's see, well, Josh, I guess, left. Steve, do you want to come up and work with us on this one just a few minutes? What this is we received an offer, and I was explaining to a couple of board members at break. Anytime that we receive an offer, we have to present it on a piece of town-owned real estate. I have to present it to the board as just an offer. This isn't to say that we're obligated to do anything. Then we go in, if the board is interested or whatever, then they can go into what's known as an upset bid process. But I'm not sure what the board wants to do, but I would say that probably they may not be interested in a proposal. So that's a little bit of background on this before Josh Steve, I apologize, gets started with his little presentation, so.
Well, there was a offer made to purchase oceanfront lot. Steve asked me to take a look into what the town could utilize the property for, how big the building envelope was, and it's been determined that the building footprint on that property is only about 15 feet. When we had the sewer system going in, we had to determine what was a buildable lot so we can assess people for the sewer. And we determined that anything with a building footprint of 20 feet or greater could be deemed a buildable property. Even though it's only 15 feet deep, it's still somebody could put something very small on that property. It's just not practical. And the only other option that I could come up for the use of the town based off what DCM regulations, Division of Coastal Management, allows you to do is parking facility, which there's a small site plan that I sketched out in that folder for you showing that we could possibly get 12 parking spaces in there. But with this upcoming change, hopefully with the static vegetation line, you know, the property could be deemed more valuable in the near future. But we've been hoping for that for a long time also. But that's where we are with it.
Madam Mayor.
Please.
I make a motion that we not accept this offer.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilor Medlin, second by Councilor Scott. Any further discussion from the council? All those in favor? Okay. I'm glad. I didn't want to see that vegetation go
Oh,
away.
that's Steve.
Next, we have consideration of a staff proposal to pursue a rule change with the Division of Coastal Management regarding the static vegetation line and the resolution supporting the efforts to revise the static vegetation line. Steve? And I made a note to Malcolm and Councilor Painter during the break. Do you remember years ago, it was probably 8-10 years ago, hell, it might have been when you were mayor, we had a presentation on how, I think it was CRC at the time, how they set the alternate vegetation line. I still have a video of that presentation. I have a copy of it at home, so.
Now, in 2000, when the beach renourishment occurred, we were stuck with the static vegetation line. After a 5-year period, we could petition the Coastal Resource Commission for an alternative vegetation line, which is what I did back in 2005 and got the alternate vegetation line, which is now called the 98 vegetation line, which is where the vegetation was prior to the Hurricane Floyd. And that's basically what they went back to and said, well, this is where it was pre-Floyd, and this is where you can have it post-Floyd. I wish to withdraw the request to, for staff to petition a rule change and support the resolution that Lisa prepared today in support of what the CRC is trying to do with the change of the vegetation line. They've got two alternate methods here that they're looking at. The first alternative method supports what the CRC chairman had proposed back in May of this year. At the time we prepared this, we didn't realize that the CRC was working on this rule change as well. But the alternative one is to repeal the static line provisions altogether and have the municipalities create a development line, which would have to be approved by the CRC in the proposed memorandum that was put together by DCM staff, CRC, Coastal Resource Commission, by DCM staff. And once the Coastal Resource Commission would approve the development line, then we could allow for infill development on these vacant lots, bring in compliance some of these other homes that aren't compliant with the setback so they can be rebuilt or added onto or fixed up without having that concern of the 50% rule and having to be removed if they couldn't meet it. The other alternate method that DCM staff is proposing is just to amend the static line exception and waive the 5-year waiting period for you to be able to petition for the exception to the static vegetation line, which that information was in the package, and that's where a municipality they wait 5 years after a beach renourishment project. They have to have a 25-year renourishment project in place, showing how they're going to finance it, where they're going to get sand from, and once they achieve all that, then they can petition for the exception to the static line. That part's not going away. But what they are going to do away with is the 5-year waiting period, so you can petition right away after a beach field project has occurred. And they're also looking at removing the 2,500 size limitation on homes that can be built based off of that static line. So we'd still have to get a beach field project plan in place to be able to petition under alternate 2, so it doesn't help the citizens and property owners of Oak Island.
That would be, what is it, 25 years?
It's a 25-year beach plan, which we've been working on a 50-year beach plan. Right, the maintenance plan. Yes.
And with financing too.
Yes, we have to show how we're going to, don't have to have the money in place, we just have to show how we're going to obtain the money to pay for it. Yeah.
We'll just print it up.
But, I would ask that we support the resolution that Lisa's prepared today that says that we are in support of our alternative 1.
Madam Mayor.
Please.
I'll make a motion to direct staff to petition the Coastal Resources Commission for a rule change regarding the static vegetation line.
Second. That's not the motion he wanted.
Oh, it's not, okay. Tell me what he wants.
Pass the resolution.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, isn't that what you?
Yes.
Go ahead.
We'd like to, when we prepared this, we didn't realize that we had to amend what we had put in here. We only got this done today.
Okay.
But what we're asking for now is for council to approve and support the resolution for supporting CRC's Alternative 1.
CRC alternate, would you like to withdraw your
Yes, I
original
would.
motion and restate
Yes.
the motion, please?
Okay. I make a motion that we support the
Resolution.
resolution
And the alternate number 1
and the alternate number 1
included in the resolution.
included in the resolution. And
will
thank
that-
you.
Yeah, will that suffice, Madam Clerk? That will. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Painter.
I think that was under 5 minutes.
Y'all think you were confused. Any other further discussion from council, please? If not, please, pardon?
We haven't voted yet.
That's what I was about to say. If there's no further,
I'm
give me
sorry.
a
I'm so
second here.
sorry.
Give me a
I'm
second.
sorry.
All those in favor? It is unanimous. I believe that's all under new business. Chair will entertain a motion to go into closed session, please, and you have the general statute to state in front of you.
Madam Mayor.
Please.
I move that we go into closed session to consult with the town attorney on potential litigation pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. And it is unanimous. We will be back in just a few minutes. This shouldn't take too awfully long.
If you push your buttons, your green light will come back.
No, Cobb said he didn't see the thumbs up first a while ago. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Council took no action during closed session. Mr. Eads, I believe we need to note
Yes, Madam Mayor, we announced we were going into closed session for potential litigation, but during closed session, the Oak Island versus Amon case came up, so that needs to be added as a reason, as well as the peer lawsuit needs to be added as well.
Tommy Thomas versus.
Right. Thank you. If there's no other business, council, the mayor will entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Move to adjourn.
So moved by Counselor Medlin, second by Counselor Kaiser. All those in favor, please. Thank you, Kyle.
Another